starting with our old, new, old music that I've got to get rid of. So, wow.
You get rid of it.
I don't have the money to get somebody to compose this new music because YouTube doesn't like this, even though I paid for the license to use this music. I keep getting copyright whatever on YouTube when we put our streams up, so I've got to just go to Fiverr and somebody compose me some podcast. Hey, Dexter.
Hello there.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gene Pool Variety Hours, episode number 68. I am the old guy in the group. I'm Dad, I'm Sean, and the guy on the other screen is...
Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy, QuillMiester, a.k.a. a White Chocolate, a.k.a. Big Thunder. I don't know where I was going with any of that. But I love improving it.
You know,
anyway,
the king of improving.
I'm Connor, his son.
The king of improving intros is Steven over at Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. I mean, he improves that intro every single time. So anyway, and it just rattles off. But anyway, so hey guys, we're new night. We're going to switch to Monday nights, or at least we're trying to switch to Monday nights because Friday
Same
nights
geek content, different geek time.
Well, yeah. So Friday nights is our typical night because it's nice to do all the podcasting and gaming on one night. But one, it was just hard for people to come and join us on the stream on Friday nights. And two, with some life changes that are coming my way, I may not be available on Friday nights in the foreseeable future to do the stream. So,
yeah.
So I'll
Monday
talk more
nights,
about that.
It'll be a better idea.
Yeah, so I'll talk more about that later because we always start with just life updates and that kind of stuff. So what's been going on with you, man? Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Mr. Rogers zip up sweater. So
it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Hi, neighbor.
Mine.
That's all I know. I've never actually seen the show. I've only seen parodies. That's all I know.
My neighbor.
But wait.
Yes.
Didn't Tom Hanks play a parody or
it wasn't a parody. He did basically a biopic movie of Mr. Rogers, and I haven't seen it. I've heard it is wonderful and touching, and so it's something that I'll have to see at some point. Well, one, I love Tom Hanks, and two, it's supposed to be just a really good movie. So anyway,
didn't he also play Walt Disney?
Yes, he did, actually.
In some other biopic?
He did, actually, yes. So, anyway. So, what's up with you?
Nothing much. Actually, you remember when I told you about our TV getting busted?
Yeah.
Well, we got a new TV gift from Nikki's sister.
Oh, wow.
She and her recent fiance, they just got engaged like a couple weeks ago, so that was fun.
Cool.
They then got a bigger TV than what they had, and they knew ours was kind of fuzzy and busted in a way, so they gave it to us.
Okay, cool.
It's a little bit smaller, but otherwise it works a whole lot better than our old one, even before it got busted.
Okay. Well,
so got a nice new TV. I can game on without having to squint to read the lines underneath the blur. And I've recently got back into Skyrim.
Yeah, I saw you playing Skyrim again.
Because of the 10th anniversary edition that came out.
Yeah, I know. Did you buy the new edition?
I've heard a lot of good stuff about it, but I'm not a fan of the fishing mechanic.
Yeah,
it's
did
boring
you
as hell.
Did you buy the new version, the anniversary edition? See, because I thought it was going to be included as part of Game Pass, and it's not. I mean, it's cheap if you have Game Pass, but so I'm not going to get it because I'm not spending money on it again.
I bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It was only like $10. That's it.
Anyway, I'm not going to get it. I mean, I would have if it had been included on Game Pass, and it may be at some point. They may do it at some point. If they do that, then I will. But I'm already paying for Game Pass. I'm not going to pay, and it's on Game Pass, so I'm not going to pay for the anniversary edition, just for a couple of pretty bells and whistles and stuff. So anyway, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let's see. Our visit that's coming up next month.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking about actually leaving on the 15th instead of the 16th because we already put in the time of the 15th through the 21st for time off.
Sure.
With the 15th being basically us packing that day and getting ready, and the 21st being a recuperation day after driving all that time.
Right.
But you know me, I'm used to driving. I mean, not driving, packing on a dime like that, so I can pack up real quick.
Yeah.
And Nikki, she tends to pack up a week in advance anyway.
I gotta hang my sign. I took my sign down. I gotta put it back up. So keep talking.
Okay. So we were thinking of basically leaving on 15th just so we can get an extra day with you guys, because I miss you guys. You're awesome. I want to see everyone. I want to show Nikki all around the Grange, show her my old haunts. I want to show her everything down there, you know. And if I get an extra day to do that, more power to us, right?
Gotta take her to the merry-go-round, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. She loves merry-go-rounds in general. Yeah. She would love that.
And this is a tradition of like 70 years down here. So anyway, cool.
A valley tradition or a McKay tradition?
No, a valley tradition. That thing.
Okay.
Because the valley used to be built on the textile industry, West Point Pepperell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all the little towns that have turned into incorporated in the valley were all little tiny little mill towns that were built around a mill. The mill took care of this town when I was growing up. And before. I mean, they gave Christmas presents to all the kids in all the elementary schools. The gym, they put a gym they built the gym for every school. They paid for all the equipment for all the rec sports, baseball, football, and all that kind of stuff. So we never had to pay fees or anything. It's great.
Sorry,
so they're the ones that put that merry-go-round out as just a gift thing for all the textile workers and their families every year at Christmas, and it's been going on for like 70 years. Now, when the mills died off, the city of Valley bought it, and now they run it. But so it will never go away. I can't see it ever going away. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
So cool. That'd be awesome. I don't know where I'm gonna. I'll be here, but I may be coming.
You better be here.
I may be coming from somewhere instead of just being here because of everything that's going on with me. So anything else going on before I dive into my stuff?
Let's see. Just trying to go through all the stuff in my head, just because I have goldfish brain. So I need to actually go through everything because I forget things so easily. I joined a D&D campaign as a player that meets every other Wednesday.
Cool. Like locally or online?
Online.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while since I've gotten to play, so this will be fun.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And that's it for me.
So for me, where do I want to start? So a few weeks ago, I didn't really talk about it last time because it was kind of fresh and raw for me. But my contract for the job that I had before got kind of abruptly terminated. So
abruptly is one word.
I am among the ranks of the unemployed at this moment. But I have several irons in the fire. I had 2 interviews today. I've got 2 interviews tomorrow. I've already got an offer that they're bugging me to take. The problem is none of them are close here.
Closest one is Florida, right?
The closest one would be about 3.5 hours away. So if I end up taking that one, then your mom and Mitch would stay here, your little brother, and I would come home. I would live down there somewhere really cheap, and then just come home on the weekends. But still, if we do that, I'll be driving home on Fridays. I'm not going to want to drive home and jump right into the podcast. That's why we're kind of switching.
Oh yeah.
But the others could be Mississippi, could be Texas, like South Texas, like almost Mexican border Texas, or Arizona or Oklahoma. So, which Oklahoma would be fun. It's kind of cool because it'd be close to my in-laws, to your mom's family and my mother-in-law and all that. So yeah, all that stuff's happening right now. So I'll be leaving here at some point and moving somewhere else. So things will probably look different at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be.
I really hope they don't, though. I hope by some miracle you get something that's still in Georgia, at least, by some miracle.
They don't even have any applications in for anything in Georgia. Well, I have one, but their applications window doesn't even close for another 2 weeks. I can't be sitting around unemployed for a month, you know? So anyway, so that's why I'm kind of wearing this sweater, because I actually had on a nice shirt and sweater because I was in Zoom interviews all day today. But then I took the dress shirt off and put on my Stab Rabbit
shirt.
My Stab Rabbit shirt. So so there's that going on. So I could end up in Oklahoma, which would be kind of interesting, or Florida. So I've got those interviews. I had the Oklahoma interview and a Texas interview today. I have a Texas interview and the Florida interview tomorrow. Hopefully by then I'll have a better idea of where I may end up. I don't know. So this will probably start happening on Monday nights, because if I'm living somewhere else and I'm not coming home at all, any night's going to be fine by me, because I'm going to be going home to an empty apartment by myself for 12 to 18 months until your mom's job is done and they move out. So anyway, so that's what's going on with me in terms of life stuff. Cool stuff that's been going on. Have you been watching all the cool movies that have been coming out?
Nope.
Okay, so
like which ones?
Okay, well, Luke and I went to see Eternals.
10 Rings, Eternals.
Luke and I went to go see Eternals at the theater.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi came out on Disney Plus last Friday. And then Red Notice came out on Netflix this week. That's the one with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock.
I thought you said Red Notice was atrocious.
Oh, it is. I didn't say it was good. I just said new. So we have the gamut here. We have the fantastic, the really bad, and the out of the three. So
then the fantastically bad.
No, listen. It wasn't fantastically bad. It was just to have a movie with Gal Gadot, The Rock, and Ryan Reynolds as the 3 stars in the movie. You would think it would be fantastic. But like I said in the Discord, it was like if you took made a movie combining Indiana Jones, National Treasure, and Ocean's 12 together, but you took the film student amateur versions of those movies and made a movie out of them. It was just
oh man.
Ryan Reynolds was Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds was Ryan Reynolds, but and I kind of like his snarky humor and this kind of stuff, but he was so over the top with it. Almost every line out of his mouth was that kind of humor one-liner. To me, it was too much. And I think it was probably because he was trying to carry the movie. The Rock was just The Rock. I mean, I like The Rock, but there was nothing special. And Gal Gadot, and it's not because I'm used to seeing her as Wonder Woman now, but they tried to give her like snarky, funny lines, and I just don't think she pulls that off well. So it just didn't play off well. And the twists were like, oh wow, that's a twist. Okay, like I didn't see that coming, kind of stuff. I'm
just not a fan of Gal Gadot.
I mean, I like her. I like her as a person and everything, but and I really liked her as Wonder Woman in the first one. The second one was just a bad movie, period. But I really liked the first Wonder Woman, the original. So that was. I mean, dude, they went to hunt down hidden Nazi treasure.
It's Nazi stuff.
Well, there ends up being Nazi treasure, and Cleopatra Egyptian treasure that the Nazis happen to have had, and it's just it's like they took every trope.
Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark.
But they're constantly chasing something down, which is kind of like National Treasure. And then Ocean's 12, because there's all these twists and turns, and people selling each other out kind of stuff. So it was like they took every trope.
I've never seen Oceans.
Oh, Ocean's 11 is by far the best of the three.
I've never seen any of the Oceans.
You should watch it.
The only heist movie I've ever seen was The Italian Job, which I still think is far superior.
Well, you haven't even seen Ocean's 11. You need to watch Ocean's 11.
Do we is it on any streaming service?
It may be. I can't remember. It may be, and if not, it's probably on my Plex server. But yeah, I think it's on. It may be on Netflix. But it's really good. It's really good. It's probably my favorite of the three. But anyway,
excuse me, guys. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Oh, jeez.
So Red Notice, did not enjoy it. I finished watching it just to say I finished watching it. Which of the other two do you want me to talk about? First,
either of them. I'm not going to see either of them. I'm not going to see them.
Okay, I get not seeing the Eternals. It's the lowest rated.
I don't. Ever since Endgame, I haven't felt any motivation to see any of the Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
because I like how it ended. You know,
and I get that. But now they're in Phase 4, so they're starting a whole new storyline with new bad guys and this kind of stuff. So Eternals got really bad reviews, really mixed reviews, but a lot of bad reviews. And here was my take on it. Okay. Ooh. People said it was the least Marvel movie. And I would agree with that. But if you went into it, and if you I kind of went into it with low expectations. I wasn't planning on going and seeing it in the theater because I didn't have high expectations for it. But Luke wanted to go see it. And since Luke's going to be off in the Air Force here soon, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go watch the movie with Luke. So I went and it was matinee, so it was cheap. So I went to see it with him in the theater. So I went into it with low expectations. If you go into that movie and you watch that movie as a drama set in the MCU universe or the MCU, then it's a much more enjoyable experience. If you go into it expecting it to be an Adventures Endgame type of superhero movie, you're going to be super disappointed because there's a lot more drama. There's a lot more drama and relationship stuff than there is. I mean, they didn't show anything, but there's a sex scene. I'm like, really? You have to do that? And no.
There was a sex scene in the first Iron Man.
No, I don't mean that kind of it. That was kind of like building. What I mean was that was kind of building his character of who he was. This was. Still. I know, but it didn't show anything. This actually was the scene. They just didn't show any skin. They didn't show any body parts.
They didn't show any movement.
Well, they showed some body movement, but not like that kind of body movement. Just body movement. Anyway,
okay, wait.
So if you
explain that. It showed body movement, but not that body movement, but still showed body movement to let you know
bodies
were still set.
Bodies were moving, but there wasn't like.
How do you explain that?
There wasn't forceful body movement. Let's just put it at that. Okay. Just watch the stinking scene and you'll know.
Of course it wasn't forceful. It must have been consensual, you know? I mean, like,
it's not. This is a family podcast. I'm trying to avoid this going into details. Anyway.
Okay.
So
I've got a quick question.
Sure.
In 10 Rings, the British guy, is that the same guy who played the Mandarin in Iron Man 3? I'm not talking just the same actor, the same character.
Yes.
That's the same character.
Yes, and he's in for like the last half of the movie. He's in with them the last. You just have to watch the movie to see his whole storyline of how that happened.
He has this weird Pokemon thing with
yes.
That he calls Morris.
I'll get to Shang-Chi in a minute.
But it's like a freaking six-legged headless bear with wings.
I'll get to Shang-Chi in a minute.
What the
Okay,
heck?
just hold on. So Eternals, if you go into Eternals expecting it to be like a drama that's set in the MCU, it's a much more your expectations are tempered at that point. So if you're planning on watching that movie, go into it looking at it that way. My issue, the reason why I wasn't planning on going and seeing it was I just could not see Angelina Jolie as a superhero. I could not see Salma Hayek as a superhero.
I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, you do. You would recognize it. Anyway, now, going in and seeing the movies.
Angelina Jolie, I know. The other one I don't.
Salma Hayek, she's the one that was in Growing Pains. She was Adam Sandler's wife in Growing Pains.
I've never seen
Growing Pains. Grown Ups.
Oh, her?
Yeah, that's her. Yes. Salma Hayek.
The Latina chick.
Yes.
Okay.
So I cannot see, and Angelina played Thena, which is kind of like what
Athena?
No, it was Thena. But in history, because they were eternal, she became the Athena was based on her, because people made mythology about who she was, so she was Athena really in Greek history and Roman. And all that.
So I was still right.
Yes, but her name is technically just Thena. So I just couldn't see her as the warrior goddess that she was supposed to be. Salma's character, A-Track, I think it's A-Track or A-Track or something like that, or A-Tac or something. Anyway, she was kind of the leader of the Eternals and was supposed to be kind of like a motherly, caretaking kind of character. And she did play. I'll get to you in a minute. She did play that role well. I will say that. But I just couldn't see them as superheroes. I just couldn't. So now, Gilgamesh.
My question, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Wasn't A-Track the name of the super speed guy in The Boys?
A-Train.
A-Train. Okay.
So anyway, but Gilgamesh, Jingo, and who was the other one? Three of the kind of like the lesser of the Eternals were my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. The guy that plays Gilgamesh is the big hulking dude from Train to Busan. Oh, they were so good.
For some reason, I thought Wong was that dude.
Mm-mm. Wong is Wong in Shang-Chi.
Well, of course I know that.
Yeah, I know it's easy to get them mixed up, but especially seeing as how I pretty much saw them back to back, it was easy to go.
They look
okay,
very similar.
They do, although some people say you're being racist saying that they look similar, but whatever.
Okay. They're tall, short-haired, brawny and strong, thick-armed Asian men who both have a little bit of facial hair. It's very easy to mix them up.
I get that. So anyway,
it's not racist. It's physical body typing.
So moving on to Shang-Chi. One of my top 3 MCU movies.
Seriously?
Easy.
Why?
Loved it. Well, okay,
but why?
Okay, first of all, I'm a sucker for martial arts movies. Give me a martial arts superhero that's not Iron Fist from Netflix. I'm all over it, right? So the action was, and this was the good thing. This was the good thing about it. Okay, just like I said, Eternals was disappointing because there was so much drama in it that people said it's the least MCU movie.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi had almost the perfect balance between superhero action and drama relationship. It was almost
comedy.
And comedy. It was almost a perfect balance. I mean, come on, Awkwafina's in it. She's like Awkwafina, the female Asian American comedian. I think she used to be a rapper or something like that.
Oh, yeah, her.
With the raspy kind of voice. She's like his sidekick through the whole movie. They're like best friends and stuff. And so anyway, it was so good. The special effects were great. I mean, special effects are getting so computer generated now, and the resolution is getting so good in movies, you can really kind of tell when it's computer generated, so that's a problem. But the storyline was great. The action, the fight scene on the bus towards the beginning of the movie in San Francisco was fantastic. And it was funny. The woman that played their auntie was the female lead in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So she was a throwback.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the mixture
now
of comedy,
my question.
the mixture of comedy and action and drama to me was the perfect mix in that movie. You know, so yeah, I would put it up there with. I love the first Captain America: The First Avenger. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, same here.
Winter Soldier's up there, but I don't know if it's my top 3. Black Panther's up there pretty high. And probably Endgame, simply because Endgame was like the culmination of the 10 years of that story, right?
All right. Here's my top 5 as it stands right now. Okay. Number 5, I have Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Okay. Okay. Number 4, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh, that was one of my least favorites.
Really? I love that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I just because I had a hard time. I had a hard time with James Spader as Ultron, because every time I heard his voice, I thought Red from Blacklist, you know, or the smarmy
Robert
guy
California.
Robert California, or the smarmy guy from Pretty in Pink. I had a hard time hearing his voice, even though he's got a great voice. I had a hard time seeing him as Ultron because I've seen him in so many other iconic roles. So that was hard for me. Although, oh god, the guy that does Gollum, his character in Ultron I loved his character. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Oh yeah. The Cockney guy who had the vibranium.
Yep. The arms dealer.
That lot.
Yeah.
That ironically lost his arm.
The arms dealer. With
Anyway.
No arm. The armless arm dealer. Okay.
Anyway.
So Ultron.
Number 3.
Okay.
Number 3, Captain America and the First Avenger. That's number 3. Number 2 is, believe it or not, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, now I really like
about it. Something about it. I just loved.
I will agree with you on that one, and it was one of the ones that I thought was going to be one of the stupidest movies, and it ended up being one of my favorites. Yep.
Oh yeah. And then actually, at the very top, it's not Endgame.
Which one is it? Infinity War?
No, it's not Infinity War either. At the very top, it's Iron Man 1.
Well, it kind of started everything, but those movies, they're not my favorites. I really didn't like Iron Man 2. Was it Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3 that had the British actor that was the fake terrorist? That was 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
3, that one, I did not like that one at all.
3 had the Russian guy. Whiplash.
Okay. 2 was the one with the... Okay.
Yeah.
No, 2 was the one with the Russian...
Yeah. That's what I meant. 2 was the one with the Russian guy.
Okay.
And then 3 was the one. I want to say Christian Slater. That's not him though, is it?
You're thinking, oh god, you would say that. Now I'm going to draw a blank, and he's one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love this guy. Oh shoot.
Dad, you
have
a supercomputer in your pocket. Just look it up.
I'm about to do that. Thank you very much. You just keep talking. Talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, actually,
Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell. Yes, love that guy.
Honest, Iron Man 3 is one of my least favorites.
I mean, like I said, of the 3, Iron Man 1, the first one was my favorite of the 3, but the other 2 didn't do much for me. At all.
My least favorite Marvel film as it stands right now actually is Thor: Dark World.
I think that's probably a lot of people's least favorite.
I mean, it did not hit well, and
No,
and we've been talking for 30 minutes, and have even gotten to our geek question, and it's a long one.
Whatever. So anyway, so if you're gonna watch any new movies that have come out recently, I was gonna
watch Shang-Chi,
and I was gonna rank those three: Shang-Chi here, Eternals here, Red Notice way down here.
Is everything okay? Everything is fine.
I have zero room back here, so if the back of my chair hits this thing at all, everything kind of just goes. Whoom. I'm surprised my sword didn't fall off. But my Tetris thing fell.
Position your chair so that it wouldn't hit the bookshelf.
Well, I can't because look, unless you want my camera to show my moving blankets that I have hanging on the wall,
I have to kind of showing it on my end,
but not on the stream. Shut up. So anyway, well, forget all that. Just stay falling down. It is what it is. For people just listening to the podcast, my bookshelf, pretty much everything just fell down completely. So anyway, whatever. It is what it is. Anything.
Big old
so
fumble rumble.
If you're gonna watch those three movies, Red Notice, throw away Eternals. But if you want to stay inside the MCU, the final, the mid-credit scene in Eternals, was it Eternals? Yeah. They're bringing in Black Knight and they're remaking Blade. So
yeah,
that could be interesting. That could be interesting.
Didn't Wesley Snipes play the
original Blade?
Yeah,
he was the original Blade. Now the guy that did you watch Luke Cage?
Yes.
You remember who the guy was that was the bad guy at the beginning in the club?
Cottonmouth.
Yes, that's the new Blade.
New Blade?
He's going to be fantastic as the new Blade. I can't remember his name.
He seems kind of skinny.
No. Well, dude, they're all kind of skinny until they get in the MCU gym and they bulk them up. He'll be fine.
Dad.
Yes.
Did you know Ryan Reynolds was in the MCU before Deadpool?
Yeah, he was Green Lantern. No, that's DC though.
That's DC.
What was
he was in the Blade movies?
Oh well, he played Deadpool in the Wolverine movies.
He and before that, he was also that's still Deadpool though.
Right. So who was he?
He played one of Blade's buddies in the original Blade trilogy.
Okay, cool. I've always wanted to see the original Blade, but I just never got around to it. And a lot of people say it's one of the best MCU movies that's out there. Not MCU, but Marvel movies that's out there.
Yeah.
So I keep meaning to get around to it and I just haven't. So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I know what I want.
I would like a big slice of
my
pie
own
right
Mark
now.
Ruffalo Hulk movie.
You want a what?
He's the only Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie, just centered around Mark Ruffalo's Hulk.
You're not going to get it.
We're going to get She-Hulk, which will be pretty dang close.
But he's getting older, so they're kind of moving. That's why they're moving to Phase 4 with new superheroes and stuff, because Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. is getting old. They're all getting kind of old and a little bit too old to be playing the superheroes anymore. So they've got to move on, right? So you're not gonna. They missed their window to get a Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie. So anyway, okay.
They kind of combined it with Thor and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, a little bit. You're right. So
Dad, an entire planet was worshiping Hulk as like a freaking battle god.
Right. So anyway, do we want to keep talking about whatever, or do we want to do anything that we're actually supposed to do on the podcast, or what do you want to do? I should have been hitting chicken the entire last 30 minutes. Just chicken.
Do we even have time for our geek question?
Oh, we're definitely going to do them. I know you got to go to bed because you got to work, but we're going to do it. So
okay, let's
look,
do it.
It'll be quick. It'll be quick. I'll go quick. Okay.
Besides this movie, we're not going to talk about this movie.
There's not a lot to talk about this movie, just because there's not a lot.
It is the most generic '80s movie I've ever seen.
Well, some would say Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo was the classic trashy 80s movie.
No, that was trashy. This was cliched.
It was cliche and formulaic. Absolutely.
There's a difference.
Well, but if you think about it, the formula was pretty much the same in Electric Boogaloo in this one, in a lot of ways. So
not really.
So, and actually, anyway, they both were formulas from the 80s. Different ones about, we've got to raise money to save this. That was Boogaloo, Electric Boogaloo. This was
we got guy from the wrong to repair our park.
Well, it's like, no, guy from the wrong side of the tracks and guy from the right side of the tracks and the girl in the middle and 80s version of Romeo and Juliet type stuff.
With skateboards.
Skateboard gangs. Skateboard gangs. Not just skateboards.
Literally.
Skateboard gangs.
Picture a motorcycle gang. With the vests, the hats, the chains, and all that.
The long dangling sword earring that I used to wear.
Yes.
Not that specific one. Not that specific
and
one.
Take them off their bikes and put them on skateboards, and that's basically what these people dress like.
So
freaking ridiculous.
Are you saying that you're going to sit here and just gloss right over the fact that your dad used to wear a long dangling earring with a sword on it? Are you going to ignore that? What I just said?
Dad, listen to me.
What?
You used to wear a mullet, and anything other than that does not surprise me.
I used to wear
rock a mullet.
I used to wear a dangling peace sign for an earring.
Mullet. Second you wear a mullet, all the other stuff becomes automatic.
Listen, it wasn't a mullet in the 80s. It became a mullet in the 90s. In the 80s,
but you still wore it in the 90s.
But I didn't wear it. That's a toupee. You wear a toupee. I had a mullet.
You still sported it in the 90s.
I didn't have one.
Yes, you did.
I didn't have one in the 90s.
Pictures. I've seen
not
pictures
from
of
the 90s.
In the 90s.
Not from the 90s. I got married to your mother in 1990, and my hair was my bangs were longer, but my hair was short in the 90s. Nope. The mullet was the 80s. It did not leave the 80s. So that was a mullet. That was a chicken with a mullet.
You had a mullet.
That was a chicken with a mullet. Woo, doggies.
That chicken had a mullet, jean shorts, and Ray-Bans.
Okay, so I'm moving on to the geek question.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered
How's
immediately.
that for an abrupt segue?
I'm honestly not going to do it this week, because I can barely speak with this
You're
cold.
just setting me up. I know you are.
No,
so what's the question?
I swear to God.
What's the question then? What's the question?
Right. The question is, what is the most ridiculous conspiracy theory you have ever heard?
Who's going first here?
Me.
Go, because I mean I know right off the top of my head.
I think I've got the winner. The flat Earth theory.
You took mine.
I mean,
curses.
People still believe.
Darn you!
People still believe after literally centuries of scientific proof and research that the Earth is freaking flat. That literally, you sail across the ocean somewhere and you see a large waterfall. That's the edge. You go over, and somehow, how your boat does freaking heads or tails crap and just flips onto the underside of the world, and it's like, okay, no, you goddamn idiot, the Earth is spherical. We see people fly around the Earth,
so
we see it.
I
makes no freaking sense, and people wholeheartedly believe it and hold protests in Washington over it.
Now, this is bad because it's making fun, and it's kind of making light of someone who passed away. But you ever heard of like the Darwin Awards? You know, the whole survival of the fittest and evolution, and people are dying because they're just so stupid. People. It's like
I've heard the term. I've never,
Okay.
never knew it
So-
was a thing.
there was a guy who was a huge proponent of the of the flat Earth theory, right? And this is just recent. This is like in the last year or so.
Oh my god.
And he built a homemade rocket because he wanted to go up in the air and prove that the Earth was flat. And he crashed and died at the end.
So wait.
So he didn't prove that it was flat.
But you built
he didn't
built a
prove
homemade rocket.
he didn't prove that the Earth was flat, but he certainly proved that it was hard. I'm sorry
wait.
if you're gonna.
What were the parameters of his rocket?
I don't remember. I just know that he had a rocket and people were actually supporting him, and he shot himself up in the air and crashed and burned into the ground and died. So I'm upset because
People.
you stole my conspiracy theory, because that has to be one of the stupidest conspiracy theories I've ever heard in my life. Yes.
There's I believe there's one that's equally as stupid, and I think you know what it is.
Well, I don't know. Which one are you going to say? I mean, are you going to steal
hey,
my other one?
It's your turn to answer.
Okay.
I'm
Well, I think
I'm not going to say it until you answer.
I think one of the other ones that came off the top of my head. I got two. One's kind of a joke, but the one that I'm going to mention is that the moon landing was faked in a movie studio in Burbank, California. That it was a a set and they faked it. And their proof, their quote unquote proof, is the flag that they put out there was waving in the air. Well, how could a flag wave in the air if there's no atmosphere on the moon? Are you people stupid? They made the flag with wire inside the flag to make it look like it was flowing. It was a prop to make it look like the American flag was flowing in the breeze on the moon. It was a prop.
I mean, yeah.
But so, so much so, Buzz Aldrin has punched people. But Buzz is cool, man. I love
He's
Buzz
full
Aldrin.
on slugged people in the face. I know this.
He is. I've seen video footage of him full on punching folks out when they accuse it of being fake. So that's to me that's a stupid one. Now, the hard part with that one is, it's really hard to prove right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't send normal average Joes to the moon to say, there's the flag, there's the old rover that we drove around in, there's the dirt, there's the footprints. We can't do that, right? So it's easy for them to go, yeah, you can't prove it, it's just video footage kind of stuff, right? As opposed to, the earth is round, you go in a circle, you keep going, you don't fall off the end. That's easy to prove.
There have been people who have actually average Joes who have actually circumnavigated the earth by sailboat.
That's why
plane.
That's why that's the most stupid one that I've ever heard, because it's so easily proven wrong. The moon,
no edge.
Yeah, the moon one is stupid, but it's hard to prove wrong because we can't.
Because you're right, they can't just send anyone to the moon. Although Elon Musk is trying to.
Yeah, well,
he's trying to.
Look, here's my thing about Elon Musk. Okay, I'm gonna chase a chicken here.
He's trying to privatize space.
He's like our modern day real world Tony Stark.
Iron Man.
I think it's kind of cool.
I am so.
Except he hasn't made a iron suit
that we know of.
When you take a guy who is trying to privatize space exploration, and as part of one of his tests, they launch a Tesla into space with a spaceman in the convertible Tesla sitting like this in space with his arm hanging out the car in space, driving the Tesla through space. That's just, you got some balls and I like your style, dude. You know?
Wait, I thought that was a meme that someone photoshopped.
No, he
did
actually
that?
launched a convertible Tesla into space with a spaceman sitting in the driver's seat, like he's driving a Tesla through space. Yes,
An
he
actual
actually did
spaceman
that.
Or a stuffed spaceman?
What?
An actual spaceman, or
No, like a dummy that
like
dressed up in a
costume?
space.
Okay.
A dummy's dressed up in a space.
Okay. I was about to say.
And when they launched it, they had camera footage from it. So it's like he's in space and like this, just driving in space. I mean, come on, man. That's a whole different level of cool personalities. Like, I got so much money, I'm throwing fake spacemen in cars, in convertibles through space to Mars. My dude, not only am I going to have the first people on Mars, I'm going to have the first car on Mars, man. I'm going to have the convertible on Mars, just tooling. So I just think that's funny. So
it kind of reminds me of the Netflix show Space Force, starring Steve Carell. You know?
Yeah, I never finished watching that show.
I haven't even started it yet.
I started it. I watched
just
about
know
3
it's basically
episodes.
about the military trying to militarize space.
Well, it was like they were trying to copy the Office kind of show in this, and I didn't think it went off very well. But anyway,
yeah.
Anyway,
you were
Did
saying?
you know?
What? Oh, finally you spit a
There
fun
was
fact.
a show from, I don't know if it was the 70s or the 80s or whatever, and it was about a guy, and it's a fake story. I can't remember if it was a mini series or a short term, or if it was a movie or a series or whatever. And it was about an old junkyard owner who decided he wanted to build his own rocket and launch it into space. And they did. And you know who the main character was?
Who?
Andy Griffith. He was the junkyard guy, and they built a rocket and shot it into space. So anyway, I don't know why I remember that. I don't remember anything about it except it was a junkyard and Andy Griffith and a spaceship. That's all I remember. So anyway, okay. So
that's probably where your other guy got the idea from.
Yeah. So the other conspiracy theory that I was going to say that was stupid, that I was going to say as a joke, was that wrestling is fake. That's a conspiracy. That is so wrong, because wrestling's not fake. It's real. I was going to just crack a joke and make a joke that wrestling is real, because my grandmother thought for certain wrestling was real. I used to, even as a kid, I knew it wasn't real, and I used to give her a hard time. But anyway, she would get hot and mad. She'd get hopping mad at some of them, at the bad guy wrestlers. Ooh, and they were jumping on Mr. Wrestling number 2 and trying to take his mask off. Ooh, she'd get mad. I'm like,
so
Green, come on.
Wait, masks? Actually,
like luchadors, like Nacho Libre
lucha matches.
No. I mean, yes. I mean, most luchadors, Mexican wrestling, there's a lot of masks, but there were still guys that wore masks in regular American wrestling. Mr. Wrestling number 1, Mr. Wrestling number 2. Of course, Rey Mysterio wore a mask for years. Of course, he's Mexican. He kind of came from the luchador stuff. But anyway,
how
did we get on Mexican wrestlers? What the heck?
I was gonna say the other conspiracy.
I wish that chicken could cluck in Spanish, because I don't know how we got there.
El bok.
La bok. Anyway. Oh, wow, we've really gone off the rails here. And there's nobody here to enjoy this. Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
you people are missing out on so much. What happened to my stream?
The other conspiracy theory I was gonna say was that there are certain celebrities and people in power in the world that are actually humanoid reptiles.
I don't know that I've even heard that one.
It's a thing. People think Queen Elizabeth is a freaking reptile.
Well, she is getting kind of old and wrinkly.
People for some reason thought Hillary Clinton is a reptile.
Well, I have a whole lot of other set of thoughts about who Hillary Clinton is, and it has nothing to do with being a reptile. That's another issue.
That's a whole other
That's
thing.
a whole other podcast. That's a whole other Joe Rogan, Fox News type podcast that I'm not doing. Nope. Not going there.
But still, people think that, and these reptoids, as they're called, essentially kind of help run things from behind the scenes. You know?
Yeah.
It's just freaking ridiculous.
Yeah. So I don't have.
It's like, okay, how do you prove that?
Right.
Do you do a skin test? No, their camouflage makes your skin look human. Okay, how about a blood test? Same thing. Okay, how about a heart rate test? Reptiles have a lower heart rate than humans, and that won't change based on their size. It's something about the way the brain and blah 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 blah. You're just making excuses. There's no way to prove it because it does not exist. There's Queen Elizabeth is not a reptile. Hillary Clinton is not a reptile. Paul Rudd is not a reptile.
Okay, well, Queen Elizabeth, like I said, Queen Elizabeth is kind of old and wrinkly, so maybe.
She's not an iguana.
Anyway, so I mean, to me, the winner hands down is the whole flat Earth stupid people. I'm sorry, I don't like putting labels on people, but if you believe the Earth is flat, you're stupid. I'm sorry. I call it like I see it. Come on, man, really? Moving on, right? So,
yeah. But
yes, you're raising your hand.
I will say this.
What?
But I will say this. Sorry. Have a hard time talking with my nose stopped up. That.
I bet you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I will say this, that in my opinion, conspiracy theories hundreds of years from now could be considered quote unquote myths and legends because think about it.
Sure.
That hundreds of years ago, people talking about werewolves and vampires and such, they could have been considered crazy, and then in time those theories solidified as legends and myths and stories,
right?
And so who knows, maybe hundreds of years from now there could be legends, myths, stories about people who thought the earth was flat, about reptiles ruling the world and stuff like that,
right.
Conspiracy theories is just another way of saying myth in the making.
Right. Speaking of werewolves, though, congratulations to Dennis from Botched Podcast.
Dennis!
His Kickstarter got funded, and Lycan Solomon's Odyssey has been fully funded. I got my digital copy. I got my digital copy the other day, so I haven't had a chance to start reading it yet because I've been doing all this job interview stuff. But I got and so he said that all of the book has been sent to the printers, so we're going to be getting our hard copy here soon. Speaking of books, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Okay, go. You talk. Just talk. Fill time.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, jeez. Should not have had that Coke. Anyway. Hey, so let's see. Fill the time. I am most likely going to get back into Mass Effect again, thanks to my new TV. I'm going to finally finish the Legendary Edition, because right as I started the Legendary Edition, my TV crapped out on me, and I need to see the entire screen in order to play it properly, and if I can't see the single screen properly, I can't play the game. So I'm most likely going to get back into that after I play Skyrim for a little bit. So anyway, Dad's back. Let's talk about what he has in his hands.
Now you're gonna see, but I'm gonna put it on this camera. See this book here? Let me move Chase out of the way. He's in the way. So see this book here? Misspelled. This is the Legion of Dorks anthology.
That's cool.
And hold on. See who's at the bottom? Hidden Magic by Sean McKay. That's me.
Okay.
I did a thing. I wrote a story, and it got published. So, if you're listening to this and you want to support charity, Toys for Tots is the charity, and you like short stories by a bunch of folks that like to write about magic and all kinds of interesting stuff, this anthology is called Misspelled, Magic Gone Awry. And it's about people with magical powers and stuff that goes wrong when it comes to magic. And I wrote one called Hidden Magic, about a guy with hidden telepathic powers that he tries to hide from the government, because the government's the one that kind of helped create it. And you just have to read the story to find out. You can get it on Amazon. Just look for Misspelled Legion of Dorks, and it'll come up. It's $12.99 for the hard copy. It's $3.99 for the Kindle version. Order it, and proceeds will go to Toys for Tots. So get it, support it, and then maybe next year, where the theme for next year's anthology is Abandoned, Connor, the true writer in the family, start working on a short story along the theme of abandoned places or abandoned things, and write a short story, and you can get published. And then maybe there'll be a father and son published in the next one. Whoa. Cool. So I'm super excited that I did a thing. That I actually did.
That you did a thing.
And that's what they say over at Legion of Dorks. Just do the thing, man. Just try it. Just do it. Because okay. I've always wanted to write a story.
Handle your inner Shia. Just do it.
I've always do it. Just do it. So I've always wanted to write a story or write a book. And I've had ideas before, and I've never really put forth the effort to finish it. And they encouraged me to do that.
Tell me all kinds of stories growing up, you know?
Right, and I never wrote
little
them.
Bedtime stories.
Right, I used to improvise bedtime stories almost every night. So I did a thing. I wrote a short story, and everybody that I've talked to that's read it likes it and feels like it's world building for a series of stories with my two main characters, Merle and Grace. So it could become a bigger thing, or it could become.
It could be a pretty good show.
Or it could.
I would say clean it up, and it could be a cool show.
Well, or the short story could be a prequel to a novel.
Yeah. Who knows?
Of course, that would mean I would have to have the attention span greater than a squirrel to do that. So that's another issue. But anyway, so I was super excited about that. That came in the mail this week. So I was really happy and proud of myself for doing that. So don't tell yourself you can't do it. Just get out there and do it and shove it out there and throw something out there. Connor. So anyway.
Okay. You don't have to keep on nagging me.
I'm trying to encourage you.
No, Dad, I know.
Because you're the one that has the true writing talent in our family, not me. So anyway, okay.
I wouldn't say talent.
Anyway, let's talk about this movie so we can move on. Because we set an hour time limit, and we have a minute and 46 seconds left, and we haven't started talking about the movie yet. So
okay,
I don't think we're going to make it.
Let's just talk about the movie in an hour and 46 seconds.
So let's talk about the next installment of
Roll for Credit.
There you go.
All right, this movie.
Hold on, let the sound effect finish. Now go.
This movie is as generic as 80s movie gets.
Okay.
Here's how generic it was.
Can I introduce the movie first? Can I introduce the movie first?
Go ahead.
We might, because you have to remember, there's some people that are just listening. They don't see the picture on our screen right now. So the movie we're talking about is the 1986. I wouldn't say classic, but stereotypical 80s movie, Thrashin. And hold on, I'm going to pull up Thrashin to read you the tagline. I thought I had it up and it went away on me, so hold on one sec. So Thrashin stars Josh Brolin, who do we know him as lately?
James Bond?
No. He's Thanos, dude. Josh Brolin Josh Brolin is Thanos.
Oh, okay.
Josh Brolin is Thanos. Sorry, I said James Brolin.
Who was I
James,
thinking?
James Brolin is his father. You're thinking James Bond. James Brolin is Josh Brolin's father. Josh Brolin was the big brother in Goonies.
Okay.
And now he's Thanos. Okay?
He really grew up.
He also was Cable in the Deadpool movie.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. So so 1986, he's literally Josh Brolin is 18 years old in this movie, okay? Because I looked it up. Because he's only a few months older than me.
He looks so old now.
He was born, well, he's 53. He's the same age as me. He was born in 68, just like me. I just have good genes and don't age very much. He's aged.
That's true.
So, yeah. So this is a 53-year-old face, people, that with good genes, okay? Yeah, except for the
your skunk beard.
Except for the little bit of white on my beard. So,
Dad.
and the dad gut that
Just
I've got.
a skunk beard.
So,
Just a skunk beard.
So the movie is Thrashin', starring Josh Brolin and Robert Russler. Now, Robert Russler, did you see the movie Weird Science?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember that Robert Downey Jr. was in that movie, right?
Yes.
Okay, he was one of the two jerks.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Russler was the other one.
Okay.
Okay, and then
So
it was
wait, Robert and Robert were both jerks.
yeah, right.
That's just setting a dangerous precedent
And
that
it
all
also-
Roberts are jerks.
And it also was the film debut for Pamela Gidley. She was a model back then. A teenage model. So she was in like 17 magazine a lot. She was in the Twin Peaks storylines. I don't think she was in the original Twin Peaks, but she was in the subsequent stories from Twin Peaks. She was in CSI, the original CSI, for a couple of years. And she just died a couple of years ago. She died back in 2018 at 52 years of age. And I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked to try to find out what she died of. Can't find it anywhere. The only thing I've been able to find is she, quote unquote, died peacefully in her home. So sometimes that's code for drug addiction and drug overdose. Sometimes it's not, and it's just, but usually, so I don't know what happened to her. But those are the three main characters. There were some cool cameos in this movie too. But anyway, so the tagline for this movie is two skateboarding gangs. Okay, there should be a red flag for you right there. Skateboard gangs battle each other.
I wouldn't even say gangs. It's just one gang and one group of friends.
There was the local ramps or whatever they called themselves, the Valley guys. So two skateboarding gangs battle each other for supremacy, and a member of one gang falls in love with the sister of his rival. How 80s cliche can you get? Not so much the skateboarding stuff, but I fell in love.
It's basically West Side Story.
Yes. And your mom said it was very similar to Outsiders, the movie and the book Outsiders, which she loves. And I need to watch out. I never read the book. I've always endeavored to watch Outsiders. I mean, the cast in Outsiders is so good. And I've always started to watch it and I've never finished it. I need to watch it. That's a wait you haven't seen kind of episode, man, The Outsiders. I mean, Patrick Swayze, C. Thomas Howell, Tom Cruise, God, who else? I mean, these major actors, it was early in their career. They were young. It's supposed to be really good. So anyway, so the story is there's this guy, Josh Brolin, who kind of comes from the valley side of California. Corey Webster kind of comes from the valley side of California. And he's got his buddies, and they have like the surfer dude hair and the bright shorts of the 80s and this kind of stuff. And they're skateboarders. They got their own little skateboarding group. And then you have and I don't remember
The
what
Daggers.
the Daggers, but I don't remember what his name was. Tommy, I think it was.
Tommy, yeah, Tommy.
And he was the
Don't remember
leader
his last
of
name.
he was the leader
The Daggers.
of the Daggers, and they were kind of the ska punk skateboarder punk of the 80s. Okay, because you definitely had there was definitely an 80s punk scene in LA back then, and and so they were kind of that side, and there was and of course Tommy had a sister who lived in Indiana, as about as stereotypical Midwestern as you can get. And she had the blonde hair and wore the typical 80s clothes that my girlfriends in the 80s wore. I remember the pants and the shirts.
You had girlfriends?
Oh, you just need to hush.
I loved the face you made.
Man.
You looked like you were about to kill me. Oh, man.
I didn't have many, but I had more than one. So there was girlfriends with an S. Yes. Anyway. So, so Corey sees Chrissy, and they look just alike. I mean, they look like they fit
Blonde
together.
hair, blue-eyed.
They look like they fit together, okay?
They look like brother and sister.
And Tommy, of course, they're all in the leather and the long hair and the dreadlocks.
The spikes, the jewelry.
Spikes and all the 80s kind of stuff. And so it's the typical gang rivalry between the two. And you're not going to date my sister, and I'm going to beat you up, and all this kind of stuff. That stuff happens, but it all
literally freaking Romeo and Juliet.
And and it's all in the context of this ongoing skateboarding competition that's going on. There's a pool.
The LA Massacre.
Well, that's the big downhill at the end.
Oh, okay.
But the whole thing is, there's the pool competition, and back then they used to do that. They had pools, and they would empty it out of water, and they would use that for their bowls for skateboarding. And then they would custom make them specifically for skateboarding. But that's why they called it a pool competition, because they were basically skateboarding in a empty pool.
Yeah.
And it was just like these two worlds colliding. The Valley guys, the Gag Me with a spoon kind of, and then the skater punk. Skate or die kind of guys.
Skate or die.
And
man,
that's about as much as you can say about the movie. They end up together. They fall in love. They have the typical, we can't be together because you can't get past the fact that he's my brother, and you can't get past the fact that I'm in love with the guy who's your rival. The typical 80s crap. I mean, it was about as formulaic. It was about as generic and formulaic as you could get. Now, the music was pretty good. Of course, I'm a guy from the 80s. I love the 80s music. There was Devo.
So do I. I love 80s music too.
I don't know that you like the 80s. I don't know that you like my 80s kind of music. Devo, Oingo Boingo, as much as I do.
I like Devo.
Now, did you know
Oingo Boingo?
Did you know that song Thrashin', the theme song to the movie, was done by Meatloaf?
Who's Meatloaf?
Okay, well, yeah, that would be kind of hard for you. You wouldn't necessarily know who Meatloaf is. Meatloaf was a very big guy, or he was back then, very big guy. As we kind of went by Meatloaf, and he was a rocker. He actually was in, and you never saw this movie. I know you didn't. Rocky Horror Picture Show, but he was actually in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Sang a song in Rocky Horror Picture Show. They cut his head off, or they took his brain out for Rocky or something like that. Anyway. So he sang that song, and it was never released anywhere else. But there were some cameos in this movie. Okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
One of the pool skaters in the pool competition, you have to go back and watch it, the guy with the blue T-shirt, was Tony Hawk. Way back in the day.
That was Tony Hawk?
That was Tony Hawk back in the day.
Remember when Tony Hawk was a big thing?
Tony Hawk is still a big
thing.
Tony Hawk is still a big thing. Now, he doesn't do international competitions like he used to, but he's still a big name. Just like Shaun White is a huge name in snowboarding. He's going to be in the Winter Olympics coming up in a couple of months. And he's almost as old as Tony Hawk, I think. So Tony Hawk was in this movie. And there's a couple other
Hey,
professional
Dad.
skaters. I recognize their names, but I don't know them that well. But they were in the movie as well.
Hey, Dad.
Yes.
Remember when I tried skateboarding way back when?
Mm-hmm. I got a cool story. I got a cool story about skateboarding too. It's
it was
definitely worthy of a chicken.
I was so scared and so tentative of them. I was scared on a skateboard, on roller skates.
Ice skates.
I was okay
because you
on
thought
a
the
bike.
shark would come through the ice in the rink.
I was 5 years old. Cut me some slack. I was 5 freaking years old.
So
I was
okay. So
5
anyway,
years old, man.
and here's another thing. Here's another. It wasn't a cameo because they announced who they were. But when they were in the club, that when they went out that night and they're in like the skater club, the band was the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Really?
And it was really, and they announced them as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but it was like a super young. It was like super young Red Hot Chili Peppers with Anthony Kiedis or however you pronounce his last name, and Flea. It was the band.
Was it the original lineup?
Yeah, but they were super young. They were super young because it was like 86, but it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And also there was a girl in the crowd in that, and I recognize her, and I've been trying to think all day where I've seen her from. She has done other shows since then, and I'm trying to remember where God, who was she? I think she played in Mad About You. I think she played Helen Hunt's sister in Mad About You. She's done other things, but that's the first thing I'm thinking of. Anyway, she was in there. Sherilyn Fenn was Tommy's girlfriend. And she's done a bunch of stuff since then. She was in the Twin Peaks movies, the Twin Peaks show. So there was a lot of cameos of people in this movie. But I just thought it was funny that when they announced the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it really is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And they're like 16 years old. They're like super young right now, right? I mean, it was before Flea looked like he was half dead, like he does now. He's so worn out, But
it's freaking ridiculous.
But anyway, so it was. Look, there was skateboarding that went on, and they were all. Now I think Josh Brolin did some of his own skateboarding, some of it.
Yeah,
not most of it, but skunks.
I loved the cinematography of those long montaging skate scenes. Of someone actually looking like they had a camera following them and moving with them through the crowds. I loved that.
Yeah. But did you see how bad the wigs were on the guys, on the stunt doubles doing those scenes?
Yes,
every time they showed them from the backside, I'm like, okay, that wig is so bad. You bought that at like Dollar General. I mean, that is such a bad wig. I mean, it was so bad.
That's basically shredded plastic bad.
It was so bad. It was so bad. Look,
I was
some of the music was
more on the feet though.
Yeah, I know. Some of the music was really good though. Of course, if you like 80s music, you like some of that music. Devo, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Meatloaf was in there. There were some other ones in there. I'm trying to think some other stuff. Oh, did you notice any weird goofs during the movie?
Any weird what?
Goofs, things that messed up. Like sometimes you can see a microphone in a scene and that kind of stuff. Did you see any weird?
Goops or goose?
Goofs. Goofs. Goofs, as in
I thought
goofy.
you said goose.
No, there were no geese in this movie. No geese were harmed in this movie. No. Goofs with an F, as in Frank.
No, I didn't notice any.
Okay, so do you remember when they were at the party?
Yeah.
The big club, right? Okay, and first of all, who goes to the dance floor with their skateboard and dances with their skateboard? I mean, come on. Really?
No, that's in the 80s.
I mean, even in the 80s, I never saw that done. Anyway, so they, Chrissy and
Luke did it one time with his ripstick. He danced with his ripstick.
Not a dance floor kind of thing.
He still danced with it.
Anyway, so when Corey and Chrissy left the club, do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. And you remember she had that long blonde hair with like the flip in the front? Okay.
Yeah.
I had to go back and double check
Like Faye Dunaway.
Because whatever. Because then it goes through the whole date montage when they go through the carnival or whatever, and I'm like, did she get a haircut? I think she got a haircut. So I rewound to that scene right after they came out of the club, and she's riding on the skateboard a little bit.
Yeah. And
then they cut to the date montage at the carnival. Her hair is like 6 inches shorter. I mean, it's like mid back in that first scene, and then they cut to the carnival date, and it's like shoulder length. I'm like, if you had to go back and film those scenes later, and you knew she got a haircut, couldn't you have at least given her a wig? You gave the nasty stuntmen's wigs that were so bad. You could have at least given her one. It was so bad. So I thought that was kind of funny. But
anyway, all in all, this movie was predictable, generic, and relatively uneventful.
And going back and looking at a lot of the 80s movies that I saw. Now, I didn't see this movie in the 80s. I didn't even remember. I didn't even know about this movie in the 80s. But going back and seeing a lot of movies that I watched back in the 80s that I thought I liked back in the 80s, they are all so formulaic. I mean, Breakin' was a formula. Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, which we did for a past episode recently, was even more formulaic, so much so that Electric Boogaloo has become a generic term for when people make a useless sequel to a movie. I mean, seriously, they use that. Oh, that's an Electric Boogaloo. They actually use that now.
I mean, in that movie, it was almost 45% just dancing montages. No real story, just dancing montages. And
they released
almost half the movie.
They released Breakin'. They greenlit, filmed, produced, and released Electric Boogaloo less than a year later. So they put a movie out and put the sequel out 9 months later. That's how trashy it had to be. So anyway, but that's a past episode. That's episode 66 or whatever it was. So, look, I mean, no, I would not recommend that you see this movie unless you just want to see a young Thanos before he went to the dark side. When he was actually a nice guy. Before he started snapping fingers and stuff and making people disappear. I guess Chrissy left him, and it just left him hard and bitter. And he's like, you know what? If she left me, I'm taking half the universe out. Bam. That's the only thing I can figure. But his acting...
Tommy is one of them.
His acting has gotten much better since he was 18 years old, 1986.
Well, obviously.
That was the year I graduated high school. 1986. 86 was the year I graduated high school.
So then wait. You graduated high school in 86 and you married mom 4 years later?
No. Yes, 1990. Yes. Yep.
That happened fast.
Yep. Well, look, when your mom and I met, we were actually in here's an academic chicken. My first year at UAB, 1986, fall of 86. I took chemistry. I took inorganic chemistry. It was one of those huge college classes with like 200 people in it in the big arena type classroom.
Yeah.
She was in that class. I didn't know. She was there with her current boyfriend at the time. We met the following fall of 87. We're attracted to each other. She was still dating that guy. I took her out for her birthday as quote unquote friends because she was like, I don't want to ruin our friendship. Bull crap stuff. I'd already been teaching her how to. Okay, I'd been teaching her how to play racquetball. She borrowed her
friend zoned you.
She friend zoned. She borrowed the racquetball racket from her boyfriend to play racquetball with me. And I asked her out, and she's like, no, I just want to stay friends because, I don't want to ruin our friendship, because she was dating this other guy. And so I took her out this is major chicken. Took her out for her birthday, And she's like, no. I'm like, no, not as a date. Just one friend taking another friend out. I'm making her feel bad, right? Just one friend taking another friend out for her birthday. So I took her out for dinner. We went out to see a movie. Oh, by the way, the movie we saw on our first date, Fatal Attraction, was our first movie that we ever saw together as a date. Okay, Fatal Attraction, about affairs and burning and boiling bunnies and stuff.
That must have been a sign for Mom being like, I should not be with this guy.
So we went out to eat, and then she said, hey, we had some time before the movie. She said, hey, let's just drive around for a little while. So we're driving around in my car, and then she turns the radio off. The banana. That's exactly my banana yellow 1979 RX-7, that Mazda RX-7 that I had. Yes. And she turned the radio off. She said, hey, let's just talk for a minute. I'm like, okay, what's this all about? And she said, I haven't been honest with you. I have a boyfriend. And she specifically, the road she told me to drive down went right by his house just in case I kicked her out of my car. She was afraid I was going to kick her out of my car when she told me that.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, and so I was kind of crushed and kind of mad that she had been dishonest with me. But I played it off. I'm like, it's okay. Like I said, I was just one friend taking another friend out, so let's go. She said, you're not mad? I'm like, no, we're just friends, right? Let's go see the movie. So we went to see the movie. And then the next day, I had a friend of mine was getting married, so I had a wedding to go to. And that was a Saturday. So Friday night we went out. Saturday I had a wedding to go to. Saturday
you asked Mom to a wedding?
No, I didn't take Mom to a wedding. No. I took her out Friday night. Saturday I had a wedding to go to with one of my band friends. So Saturday I was doing that. It was out of town. And then Sunday morning, of course, Saturday night at a wedding, I got home kind of late and wasn't in the best mindset. We'll just leave it at that. So I was sleeping late on Sunday morning. She calls me up on Sunday morning, 2 days after we had our quote unquote date, just for friends, and she said, "Hey, guess what I did today?" I'm like, just waking up. I don't know what. She's like, no, just guess. I don't know. You're in a car accident. I have no idea. She said, no, I broke up with my boyfriend. Okay. And 2 weeks later, we knew we were going to get married.
What?
2 weeks later, we knew we were going to get married. And 31 years later, we're still married.
It took me and Nikki 7 years to figure that out.
So anyway, yeah,
I was friend zoned harder than you were. God dang.
Mom would say it was all due to the tight red sweatpants I wore when we played racquetball.
Wait, I don't want to picture that.
Goodness!
I don't want to picture your flat dad butt and red sweatpants. Oh my gosh. No,
yeah, it wasn't the flat in the back. It wasn't the flat in the back.
Let's roll for the next movie. Hey, let's move it.
It wasn't the flat in the. Oh, let me finish.
Moving on, Dad.
It wasn't the flat in the back. It was the other, the junk in the. Anyway, just kidding. So,
no. Sorry, babe.
Oh man. Anyway, okay. So let's get out of here. Let's roll for the next movie. We've been doing this for about a half an hour. An hour and a half. Sorry. So let's roll for the next movie. So we're gonna roll for the service, the genre, and the movie. All right. So
yeah.
All right. So
geez, I'm tired. I'm gonna head right. I'm gonna head straight to bed after this.
Roll for the service. Roll for the genre, and then roll for the list in the genre. Here we go.
Freaking golf ball of a die.
All right, so I rolled a 14. So 14 would be Netflix on our roll.
Cool.
And then I rolled a 6, which will be crime. So we're going to watch a crime movie from Netflix. Okay.
Ooh.
Nice.
And
then I rolled a 13. So kind of early, kind of high up in the list. So yeah. I'm going to pull up over here. I'm going to pull up hold on. I want to pull up the crime genre. on Netflix, and I'm going to scroll down and find the 13th movie, and that's where we're going to go. So y'all just hang tight. I'll be right back. Oh, I'm going to look forward to this one.
What is it?
Well, this is one that I've been wanting to see for a long time. It's always been on my list of I need to see that movie just because I love the actors in this movie. I need to see this movie, and I've just never gotten around to see this movie. It's the 2007 movie, partly biographical movie, American Gangster.
Huh.
Starring Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington. They're the two main characters.
Huh.
The storyline is an outcast New York City cop is charged with bringing down Harlem drug lord Frank Lucas, whose real life inspired this partly biographical film. Check out the cast, okay? So, Denzel Washington, Russell Crowe, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I can't pronounce. I know that's not. I'm not pronouncing that right. He's he's in Doctor Strange. He's also in 12 Years a Slave. The main character in 12 Years a Slave. In I'm trying to remember his name in Doctor Strange. He was Mordo.
Was he the black guy in?
Yeah, he was Mordo in Doctor Strange. Josh Brolin, another Josh Brolin. We're having a Brolin-assance here because we're watching another Josh Brolin movie. So Josh Brolin is in it. Ted Levine is in it. You recognize Ted Levine. You won't recognize his name, but you recognize his face. Do you remember Flubber?
What? Okay, wait. Was he the jackass?
No. In Flubber, the two bad guy henchmen.
Oh, okay.
There was the really big one, and then the shorter one that was kind of balding. It's the shorter one that's kind of balding. He's been in a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'm not done.
I thought he was the he was hitting on Robin Williams, his fiance wife person.
So hold on, I'm not. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s in this. Armando Sante's in this. Idris Elba's in this. Common is in this. T.I. is in this. You remember T.I.? He's the African American guy in Ant-Man of the gang with Luis.
Oh,
remember?
That guy?
Yeah. There's the Russian guy, the African American guy, and Luis. He's the African American guy.
Nice.
So it's got a now for several of these, it's probably early in their career, so they're probably smaller roles, but still. So I am super looking forward to that.
Names.
Now you need to understand that this movie is 2 hours and 37 minutes long. So it's a longer movie.
So I need to plan.
You need to plan ahead. And also, we're probably not going to stream next week because I'll be in Oklahoma for Thanksgiving. And you know what internet is like out there.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be skipping the week of Thanksgiving and probably be back on the 29th.
I can do that.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's our next movie, American Gangster with with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, with Eli from the Book of Eli and the Gladiator going at each other.
Nice.
There you go. So yeah. So it was a Monday.
I think we're good.
It was a Monday night. We're done. I think we're going to stick to Monday nights. The holidays are coming up. You still there?
Yeah.
Okay. The sound crapped out. No, I sound crapped out for a minute. So anyway,
we went over time about like half an hour.
Yeah, whatever. So I don't have anything else. I don't have anything going on except for a couple more interviews tomorrow. You got to go to work.
I've got things going on.
So anyway, that's it. We got nothing else going on. We'll be back probably in a couple of weeks because next week is Thanksgiving holiday and I won't be here.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to get back on that kind of stuff. Hang out with us on Instagram at Gene Pool Variety Hour on Instagram. I'm on Headgamer on Instagram. I think you're QuillMiester on Instagram, although I don't think you use it that much. Twitter.
I barely use social media anymore, Dad.
I'm on Twitter at Headgamer, GP Variety Hour on Twitter. Catch us there anytime. We're going to switch to Mondays at 8 o'clock for the podcast stream. I'm still probably going to do my game streaming on Friday nights. If I'm living by myself somewhere for a year, I'll probably be doing lots of game streaming throughout the week to give me something to do in the evening because I'll be living by myself. So stay tuned for all that. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we would appreciate you guys going to whatever service you listen to us on and give us a 5-star rating or any kind of rating, but preferably a 5-star. But not because we need the validation, but because the more 5-star reviews we get, the more chance we have of people hearing us and finding out of us and listening to us, because it's fun to have people to talk to. It's a whole lot more fun doing this stream when we have people in the chat with us to talk to than
and I'm a comedic genius, and people need to hear my genius.
Yeah, I'd like to read your genius. Hint, hint.
Okay, I knew that was gonna happen. just play the outro music.
Okay,
Pops.
so we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for anybody that stopped by. Thanks for listening. If you're listening on the podcast side, and we'll see you guys next time on the Gene Pill Variety Hour. And always remember,
stay nerdy, my friends.
bye everybody. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.